So Flash is coming up with a huge amount of vultures to take down 2 measly vultures. And I think that Leta must have had a couple more vultures in that dropship. I'm not sure exactly where that other dropship went. It was going straight up into the main area and probably dropped a vulture or 2 that got cleaned up, because I don't see any other activity from Leta up at Flash's base. But Leta has a single Wraith out now, but Flash has a couple of Goliaths I saw. So that should render the Wraiths pretty much useless for now. But Leta building a science facility right now to get his upgrades rolling as he's preparing to take that new base over at the 9 o'clock. Now, he's going to try to land here, and he's going to notice that's going to give him an error because the mine is already there blocking that. So he's going to have to scan and get rid of that, and that's going to waste his scan, and that's exactly what Flash wants. Now, Flash is working his way towards this base. He knows that's going to float over because he sees it with the mine vision. So I'd say that Flash has pretty good control over the middle of the map right now. He has a little bit more of the middle than Leta does, but Leta could change that with a couple of nicely placed drops and kind of a sneak attack with troops. Flash, very quick reaction from him again, doesn't lose too many SCVs over at his 3 o'clock position. Now, let's see what Leta is up to. I don't see any more activity from a starport. Well, Flash is pumping more dropships. Going to do a drop of his own, probably a vulture drop inside of Leta's main. Since he was not able to do that earlier, Leta was the one doing that earlier. Now Leta is going to push, I think. He is grouping up his entire army, scanning at the same time. But this is going to be a very awkward attack. I don't see how this will be successful with the amount of mines at the front. While Flash is pulling all of his troops from the south into this engagement, throwing his vultures at the front just to take all that tank splash. But unfortunately, he didn't have his own tanks within range at that point, so the vultures are pretty much just suicided for no reason. But alright, Leta has plenty of factories going now to compete with Flash's. I think he has more factories than Flash now. Because Flash, he was saving up the money for that new base. Of course, both guys are expanding down the map like crazy. I have a feeling we're going to see the 4th from both soon, as here comes a drop ship from Flash, deciding to back off because he sees the engineering bay, got the vision on that. So Leta gripping up his tanks a bit too much, leaving himself vulnerable to splash, but he still fends Flash off very nicely, and Flash is losing even more of the middle. And Leta has the advantage now, I think. I do think he has the advantage. You know, he was a bit behind in bases. He does have the military advantage in the middle of the map for now. He's got to push that, though. He's got to continuously inch forward with those tanks, because the longer he waits, the more difficult it's going to be to push through this. Flash has a nice little arc of troops in the middle, being grinded down by a single Wraith. In the middle, that Wraith is going to cause Flash a lot of problems until he brings his Goliath, and there's the Goliath, though. So Leta going to keep his Wraith as close to the tanks as possible and still be able to do some damage, to hover back and forth as the Goliath tries to destroy it. Alright, let's keep an eye on the minimap. I don't see the guys putting down their 4th bases just yet. They're both fighting for the middle. Fighting for that territory in the middle. There's Goliath being dropped by the dropship, and now I think that Flash might be able to push his way through, but now his troops are so spread out that this is going to cost him a lot of tanks, having his troops spread out like this. Of course, having that arc in the middle, it's a very strong defensive grid, but once a player starts going to either side of it, like going to the edge of the arc and taking out the troops like that, it becomes very weak, because you cut off your opponent's legs, basically, of that contain in the middle. Of course, Flash still has a bunch of troops, has a bunch of dropships, and I think he is going to drop on top of some siege tanks if he can find them. Curiously enough, he's going down the map right now, maybe trying to position himself for a drop at that 9 o'clock, trying to sneak his way in by bypassing all of the vision units that Leta has. So, alright, Leta is taking his 4th base now. I think I see that coming down. Flash is taking his. He's taking his down at the 5 o'clock position right now. Before he takes the 5 o'clock natural expansion, here comes Flash doing the drop on top of the siege tanks. Just within range. It takes them all down, so he does retake the middle of the map. And that is what you basically fight for in TVT, the middle. Gotta take the middle so you can take your side of the map. There's Flash. He's actually floating down, going to take the natural at the same time. And Leta is going to be very behind in bases because Flash, he just built the 5 o'clock. He built the 5 o'clock natural. He's going to get those both up at the same time and doing a drop down here at the 8 o'clock, denying a prospective base from Leta. So Flash, wow, this is just mad TVT skills from Flash, knowing exactly what Leta was going to do and exactly what he needed to do to compete with Leta economically. So Leta is, I think Leta is going to do a drop soon, down at the 5 o'clock position. Once he notices that, he's already doing a couple of scans looking for units that he could push through. He saw all of Flash's units down there. But now Flash is sieged. It's going to be much more difficult for Leta to break into that 5 o'clock area. Okay, Flash transferring all of his SCVs. Very smart from Leta, though, denying the landing of that command center with a single vulture. And here comes Leta with a bunch of dropships. I think he's going to drop right on top of those siege tanks, picking up his own tanks. And if he tries to work his way towards there with some ground units, too, I think he's going to be in for a rude surprise. But no, he's going straight for the 5 o'clock. Flash lifts off. Extremely fast reaction from Flash. But Leta is doing the same kind of little contain at the 5 o'clock as Flash did at the 8 o'clock. And I think Flash is still down there at the 8 o'clock with some siege tanks. So that's exactly what Leta wants to do. He wants to mirror this map up a bit. Keep himself in this game economically, because Flash is still a base over Leta right now with that 5 o'clock natural expansion. I'm not sure if that was able to land yet because of the vulture in the area, but he has a command center down there, and that's the important part. All right. So both guys fighting for territory. Flash, look at that tank line from Flash down at the 5 o'clock, and he's floating down with his command center, which makes me think he's going to do an attack soon. To retake the 5 o'clock if he can, because I saw that command center floating down slightly. I think it might have stopped in its tracks a bit. But Leta, both players have plenty of drop ships. It all depends on where they're going to drop, when they're going to drop. Now, Leta is in a good position, I think, to drop inside the main, because Flash has all of his troops down at the 6 o'clock position. He's denying another base at the 6 o'clock right now. So that means Leta, this would be an opportune moment for him to drop inside the main, try to take out those production buildings. But it looks like he's decided to go down with his dropships at the 6 o'clock position, maybe try to retake, yes, this 8 o'clock, dropping right on top of the troops at the 8 o'clock. So he's going to clean that up, but no Flash coming in with his dropships at the exact same time. Going to re-drop down at the 8 o'clock and hold the 8 o'clock. Leta's so frustrated right now. I think he just did a curse word under his breath, because he devoted so many units to retaking that 8 o'clock. Yeah, Flash was just waiting for Leta to strike first. So it would have been better if Leta had dropped inside the main. It would at least kept Flash away from that 8 o'clock so he could go down to the 8 o'clock natural expansion perhaps and retake that if the tanks weren't within range at that time. I'm not sure if they were or not. All right, Leta holding his own down at the 5 o'clock, so at least Flash is not going to have that 5 o'clock anytime soon. But Leta's having a very tough time getting and holding expansions. Look at this vulture harassment, too. A huge amount of vulture from Flash, going to kill a lot of SCVs at this 9 o'clock expansion as Leta doing kind of a mass drop, grouping up his drop ships and dropping in one single spot. That's not the most efficient way to drop, but a quickest way that he can get done. Now Flash working his way down with even more drop ships. I think he's just going to try to secure the 8 o'clock, because if he secures that 8 o'clock long enough, he's going to be able to take that for himself. That's exactly what he wants, to take 3/4 of this map, being extra greedy,